Liz, when you get approached and people say, "Oh, we want to be data driven," and you ask them why, kind of people. I know we've worked with companies that have no idea. They just want, because apparently it's good for profit, so they want it, right? But what answer would you ideally expect? What answer would you want to hear?
There's one organization which blew me away when I said why, and they gave me a fully formed answer about customer personalization. They really got it. I was like, wow, you really know what you're doing. But most of the time, it is kind of, well, we just want to be data driven. We want to do things with data. Okay. And for me, it's the 5 whys of data. Drilling down into the why. So, for example, it could be, okay, why do you want to be data driven? Well, we need to cut costs. Okay, at least we're getting somewhere now. We're starting to pin down on something realistic. Is there a specific area you want to cut costs? Oh, well, we could look at logistics. Okay, and you're kind of going down that funnel. What's going on in logistics? Where do you think your extra costs are coming from? What's happening? What's the challenge? Oh, our lorries don't go out fully stocked, or we've always got stock left on the loading bay because we can't fit it on the lorry. Okay. Well, is there some key fast-moving products that we need to look at? And you can start to pin it down into a handful of products that you need to look at for the data quality or the size of the lorries on the system. And at least then you've got a direction. And most importantly, you can measure the progress. Because if you don't measure what you're doing, how do you prove it's successful? I've actually got a client that spoke to me very recently, and they're actually looking to challenge whether they need their analytics platform any longer. I'm like, okay, that's an interesting question. Why do you think you don't want it? And we're yet to have the more detailed conversations, but measuring the value of what you do with data is so critical. And again, it comes back to data mesh. Okay, I want data mesh.
Why?
What are you going to do with it? Who's driving it? Is it that IT want that new shiny toy they think can be amazing for the business, which is a majority of people or customers? But how are you going to prove it's successful? What are you going to do when you've implemented data mesh? Who's going to use it? And I've also got a client that I'm not going to mention any names about my clients because
no.
Of course,
we would have to beep them, and we try not to beep anything. So please.
I'm getting to so much trouble because I'm critical. And these are not all current clients, to be fair. Got a client who wanted to do data mesh. They've been doing it for about a year. Got some data engineers in, and they're starting to make a really good pipeline of data. However, nobody's using it because they've never actually connected with the business. They took
which is not data mesh.
No, they took the old style approach of we'll build it and they'll come. A year later, they've got their data engineers burning money, just sitting there with their feet up. Well, what are we supposed to do now? The business are not telling us what data we want to put in the data mesh or what data products we want to build. So what do we have to do? And yeah, you're absolutely right. It's the people side.
Listen to Between Data and Risk podcast